So today, my friend Sarah and I are doing a little conversation in my living room, and it is a little get to know me situation. We are recording.
Okay. Hi.
Hi.
What's your name?
My name is Lesa Wilson.
And where are you from and where are you today?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Rome, Georgia, and I currently live in Atlanta, Georgia.
And do you love it?
I do. Yeah.
What do you love most about Atlanta?
What I love most about Atlanta is the community here. I feel so fortunate to have moved to a city that was scary initially because my first entire week living here, I did nothing but cry buckets because I moved here by myself and I had $300 in my bank account. So it was terrifying. And I very quickly got adopted into the family that is the Atlanta acting community. And it has been absolute magic.
Amazing. And what do you do?
I am an actor, and I am also a podcast host and a voiceover artist. And in the last year, I have started coaching and teaching actors to do what we do, which is tell stories and bring characters to life on screen.
What is your favorite thing that you have done?
My favorite thing that I've done, that's a hard question because I've loved so many of the projects that I've done. But if I had to choose a favorite, I would say Stargirl. I got to play a character named Bobby Berman, and she was a very complex and complicated individual that was terrified for her life pretty much at all times. And so being able to go from pretty much constantly playing the happy-go-lucky girl next door, Bobby was atypical, and she was a bit of an outlier for me.
That's amazing. And what is the character that you've played that was the most surprising?
Most surprising? That's a good question. The character that I have played that was the most surprising, it hasn't come out yet, but I recently played a character in a made-for-TV movie. It's called Nanny Beware, and it was the first time I was tapped to play the psychopath. And it was surprising because in the script, she's surprising. You know, it's like she is the quintessential wife and mom. She's the one that everybody looks to like, oh, she's got it together. She's picture perfect. And then in reality, she's everything but picture perfect. She's completely fractured to the point of absolute brokenness. And it was surprising to me how honest I was able to be in her shoes. And I loved it. It was so much fun to play her.
What do you think your younger self would think of yourself now?
Oh, she'd be so pumped. My younger self would be so obsessed with me. Yes, ma'am. She would be snapping. She'd be like, yes, let's go. Is that my future? Okay.
What is the greatest risk you've ever taken?
Greatest risk I've ever taken. Greatest. Let's qualify that with a category. The career risk. Or I've got one for you. Let's go career risk. Okay. So the greatest risk that I've taken in my career was in the season of transition from being a no-name actor, where you're girl number one, waitress number one, barista, whatever. We've all done them a million times over. It's like, we call that being stuck in co-star land, and it's a well-known thing. But for me in particular, that looked like the host and the paparazzi, the interviewer on the street. And it was a very solitary experience on set. So you go on set, and part of the joy of being an actor is being able to engage with other actors and bring these scenes to life together, because it's about community. And those roles, I found that oftentimes I was the only one on the set. There were no other actors because I was a talking head. And while I was really good at hosting, because my origination in the industry started basically as a host, I hated it. I hated it, and I was creatively stifled, and I wanted something different, and I was begging for something different. And I was having conversations with my team about this, and I declined an audition that came in, another host, and it was on a Friday afternoon. I decline it. I get a phone call from the agent at the time that Monday morning after. It's her first call of the day, and she called specifically to chastise me for declining that role because casting asked for me specifically. And casting has a particular job to do. You know, they put people in roles that they know that they can do, and they knew without a shadow of a doubt that I can do the role of the host or the reporter. But I didn't want to do that anymore. So then it's on me to start to change where the ship is going. So in order to do that, you have to do something different. So I declined the audition. That phone call, I will give you just one line just so you can understand the way that went down. My agent at the time said to me, "You are not Angelina Jolie. That is not the path that was carved for you. So you just need to stay in your lane and do what you do really well." That was her line. And to that, I took a moment and I told her I needed to get back to her. And I took about an hour, and I was seething the entire time. I was just so furious, you know. So an hour later, I emailed the entire team, including the owner of the agency, and I said, "Unfortunately, I can't break up with one of you, so I have to divorce the entire agency. Thank you for everything you've done for me. I am going to find another path." And I left what is now one of the biggest agencies in Atlanta. Then I get a phone call from the owner of AMT, our agency here in town. And she said to me, "We have a new TV and film rep, and I'd really like for you to come in and have a conversation with him." And so I did. And then he saw me and he was like, "Okay, I want to know your entire history. Let's go." And within, I don't know, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I started getting auditions that were in the vein of what I wanted. And within the next 2 months, I started booking, and then my life completely changed after that.
What is something, doesn't have to be acting, that you are the most proud of?
Yeah. The thing I am most proud of. Ooh, the list is long. You know, we can talk about experiences and roles that I've had all day long. We can have all those talks. They're plentiful. But I think the thing I'm most proud of is the fact that I've been in this industry for over 20 years and I haven't given up.
Wow.
That's like the hardest thing to do, you know? And I've managed to make my living doing this, and now I'm in a position where I'm able to help other people who want to do this and hopefully help them navigate what sometimes feels like bottomless pit of endless rejection into a place of feeling like they are valid and valuable and doing the job well, and honestly, and really just enjoying the work, because that's what it's about, is just to enjoy the work.
Yeah. So what was the best piece of advice that was ever given to you? And then also, what is the best piece of advice that you could give to someone else?
Yeah. The best piece of advice that was given to me along the way was power under control. And it came from my father. And he is such a wise man. It makes me emotional. My dad sees me. That's why it's like, that's why I cry, but my dad knows that I am a wildfire walking, and he understands that the thing that I have to be able to navigate is my power. And so he would always tell me, it's power under control. Sorry, I'm crying, it's so silly, but power under control, that's it. Keep your power under control. And then the piece of advice that I would give to people, trust yourself. Really, truly, I think that's the thing that so many of us fail to do is trust ourselves. And the real true power comes whenever you believe in your choices and you know that your instincts are right. And that comes from walking through all of your experiences and everything that goes on in the mind that tells you that you're not enough and tells you that you're doing it wrong, or, you know, just because so-and-so is a quote expert, maybe they know better than you and I should do what they're doing. But the fact of the matter is that you should do you, boo-boo. At the end of the day, that's it. That's all that matters, because we're hired for being who we are, and not for being an imitation of someone else.
We could talk about acting
All day.
all day. But besides acting and the industry, the entertainment industry, what are some of your other favorite things?
Yes. So some of my favorite things outside of the business are my friends and family. I am huge on community, and I look at my calendar and I spend a lot of time going out and meeting up with my people and investing into their lives, and I just love what that's built for me here. I have an amazing dog, and she is the light of my life, so I love spending time with her and being able to just like go on walks, take her to the park or whatever. It's just so nice having a dog. But I also love to travel, and I love snow skiing. I love going to the beach. I would live at the beach if I could. That would be amazing. I like to read, and everybody loves Netflix, so I just like to watch TV.
Yeah, what are some of your favorite things that you've seen on TV, movies or TV or anything?
One of my favorite movies is Eat, Pray, Love. There's one on HBO that I became obsessed with called His Dark Materials. And I feel like it's a really cool story that it's like multiverse, it's sci-fi, deals with all the mystical and magical, and I am about that. So it's become a favorite. I also love Westworld. I love anything on TV or film-wise, like Interstellar is one of my favorite movies. Anything that makes you think, I am all about, like sitting and having a discussion after I watch something, like, what do you think that meant? Why did they put that there? And I always notice, like, if there's a placement of a glass or something and there's focus on it, I'm like, what's the reason for that? When are we going to come back to that?
What is something that in a dream world you would want to hop in on?
In a dream world, I would love to be a director, to have an opportunity to direct a film that is life-changing and actually tells a story that moves people to take action, to live better, do better, treat other people better. That's like a life goal. I'll get there one day.
What is something that makes you feel accomplished?
Something that makes me feel accomplished is looking around at my life and being able to say, I did this. I've been able to go and do things that people only dream about. I'm literally living a fairy tale. And, minus my love life. But those are the moments whenever I look around and I sit in that seat of gratitude, because those moments will bring me back to center. It's easy to be on a roller coaster with what we do for work. This is a very volatile industry. And so for me to be able to actually sit down and say, wow, I did this. I own this place. I have a healthy dog. My health is great. I feel wonderful. My family's wonderful. My friends are great. I've cultivated community. It's just, that's it. That's really the definition for me of success, is just being able to look around and be like, okay, we did this. This is this is a life that you have created.
We are in an industry with a lot of rejection.
Yes.
How do you feel you are able to handle all that? How are you able to handle all that?
Yeah, rejection is hard, and it is the bitter old friend that holds our hand at every step of this business. We turn in auditions all the time, and we never hear anything about them. We never know if we did good. We never know if we're a potential top pick. We don't know if we get sent to producers. We have no idea. And so it makes it more difficult to navigate, because we are in a position of not knowing and we don't get the information. For me, dealing with rejection, I guess I learned that skill really early. I started looking at myself as a commodity as opposed to the person of Lesa. I was able to separate my humanness from my product. I'm selling a product. All of us that are on-camera people or people in the industry in any way, we're selling a product. And if you're going to put yourself on the market to be part of this capitalism situation, then you have to then expect people to not necessarily feel like you're their cup of tea, and that's okay. Because rejection is just redirection, not to be cliche, but truly the roles that are meant for you are going to find you, and the ones that are not will not be yours. Here's a perfect story about that. I auditioned for a commercial years ago. It was for Cox Communications, and I went in, it was when we still had in-person auditions, and the waiting room was full of all of Atlanta's heavy hitters, and they were like, you know, the best of the best. And so I walk in, and I'm still really kind of like nervous in my body with this acting thing, and I had to do this audition in front of the clients, and it was a page of dialogue, a full page, and it was like straight to camera presentation, you know, so I'm supposed to be off book. I was off book. I had worked for like a whole day to try and get off book. But you get in there, and then the nerves overtake you, and everything that you've worked on will go like, whew, it's gone. And then the next thing you know, you're like, wait, what happened? I was so ready 5 minutes ago. This doesn't make any sense. But I went into that room, and I dropped the lines 4 times. I failed 4 times in the room in front of the client with the casting director. And by the end of it, I felt so defeated. And it was a seated audition. I felt so defeated that I just went, and I was in the room with the clients and the casting director. And then Melissa, it was over at Stillwell, she said, okay, let's give it one more try. Just take a deep breath and shake it off. And I said, okay, I'll just give it one more try. And I knew at this point, I was like, it's a wrap. I'm not getting this. And I did it one more time. And I felt very flat. I didn't feel like I brought anything special. They were like, okay, thank you. I leave the room. I go and I cry in my car for 10 minutes straight before I like make my way back home, and then I eat a pint of ice cream to deal with my sad emotions. And then I got a call the next day that I booked it. So that goes to show you that what's meant to be yours is going to be yours. It'll find you, because that role was meant to be mine. I was literally going up against everybody in Atlanta who was anybody in my category and even outside of the category, and I booked it. And I failed epically in that audition over and over and over, and I showed my failure in a great display of, but I still ended up booking. I mean, it's a spin on rejection, you know. It's like I could have sworn I was not going to get it, but you do have to get really comfortable with rejection if you're going to be in this business. Anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
I just have a couple quick fun questions.
Okay, cool.
First,
yes.
What is your favorite color?
Oh, that. What is my favorite color? Why is that the hardest question to answer? My taste in colors has evolved, and I love a spectrum of colors. It used to always be red, and then it moved into the blue family, and now I'm a huge fan of neutrals, but I still love pops of color. So it's a very hard question to answer because there's multiple answers. I don't think I have a favorite. I think I have a palette. There's a color palette.
Yeah. What is your biggest pet peeve?
My biggest pet peeve would be people smoking indoors. It is 2023. Come on, no. We don't do that anymore.
If someone offered you a box of everything you've ever lost, what is the first thing you would look for in that box?
The first thing I would look for in a box of lost things would be my childhood pink blanket. It was my little safety blankie, and I took it everywhere with me. And I don't know what happened to it, but I remember what it looks like to this day. And my mom said I used to take it literally everywhere. If we left the house without my pink blanket, it was a problem. And I think I carried it around until I was like 5 years old. It got some miles on it.
If you had 3 wishes and you can't wish for more wishes, what would you wish for?
If I had 3 wishes, I would wish for, selfishly, for this year to be the year I finally land a series regular role. And my next wish would be that plastic was completely banned, single-use plastic, And my next wish would be that, for greater access, honestly, to mental health resources, because the thing that I have found in relationships through the years is most have failed because people don't know how to deal with their emotions, and they don't know how to communicate their emotions. And so when you have the words to be able to articulate what's going on in you, it really changes the game and the survival rate of your relationships. So those are my 3 wishes.
Wow. What is your star sign?
I am a triple Aries. Aries sun, Aries moon, and Aries rising.
Awesome. You are also a singer.
I am.
What is your go-to karaoke song?
So I tend to sing jazz and blues, and so if given the opportunity to do something in karaoke, I'd probably go for like Blue Skies. You know, blue skies smiling at me, nothing but blue skies do I see. Bluebirds singing a song, nothing but bluebirds all day long.
So, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but you won Miss Georgia.
I did win Miss Georgia.
The first runner-up to Miss Georgia USA is North Cobb County, Lauren Stockton. Miss Georgia USA 2006, Rome, Lesa Wilson.
How did you get into pageants?
There was a season of my life when I was just looking for a pathway out of my hometown. And so I was jumping into like swimsuit contests, and I did Venus swimwear, I did Hawaiian Tropic, I did a number of things. And in my search for like pageant opportunities, I found that I could do Miss Georgia USA. And so I went and registered to do the pageant, and then a couple of years passed because I ended up getting on American Idol, and the contract kept me from being able to do Miss Georgia USA. So then after my Idol contract was up, the Georgia USA office was still calling. They called me every year until the last year that I could compete, and I would be aging out. So I went and I did the pageant, and I won, and then I was second runner-up at Miss USA.
Wow, what was that feeling that you had when you were crowned?
The feeling was out of body. It's the only time in my life that I can say I've had an out of body experience, and I completely lost all understanding what was happening around me whenever they called my name. And the closest thing I can relate it to is if you've ever blacked out, you know, the sensation whenever you're trying to like come to. That is the feeling I had whenever I realized I was being crowned Miss Georgia USA. I might have blacked out while standing there.
And you were on American Idol.
I was.
What was that experience like?
American Idol is not for the faint of heart by any means. It was very rough. It pushed me to my absolute limits in the worst kind of way, I think. For any vocalist, you know, we have certain environmental things that really need to be in place in order for our vocal cords to be okay. And those things were not present. And we were operating on about an hour of sleep a night. And so it was very challenging. Yeah, I lost 10 pounds in 1 week while I was there. It was that grueling. It also happened to be a springboard. So there's a silver lining to everything. You know, after that, I ended up getting into recording records, and there was a record producer that actually came to my hometown and researched me and found me, and I produced this entire set of records with them and ended up charting on the radio and getting in front of Universal Records. And then the next thing I knew, I was on the Miss Georgia USA stage and then the Miss USA stage, and after Miss USA, suddenly the contacts that I had made at Universal Records made my name come up the day after I competed in Miss USA. So I'd connected this one guy, Brett, during the time that I was doing all of the recording with the producer. And then I compete in Miss USA, and the president of the label was talking about the Miss USA pageant in the meeting the next morning, and he was like, oh yeah, my wife and I are really rooting for Georgia. And Brett was like, hey, that's my friend. And so then the next day, like they decided they wanted me to come up and meet the label. And so my dad and I flew to New York the next day, and we were in the offices of Universal Records, Universal Republic. And then the next thing I knew, I was doing this tour basically around all the different record labels in Nashville because they thought I should be a country artist. Ultimately, that wasn't what I wanted. So I ended up walking away from music at that point and coming back to Atlanta. But yeah, it's all kind of interconnected like that.
What don't you do?
I am not very good at basketball. Like, don't put a basketball in my hand. I might accidentally hit you in the face and break your nose. And depending on who it is, it might be on purpose.
What are some things that people don't know about you that you might want them to know?
The thing that I would want people to know the most about me is that I'm a very thoughtful and very deep individual that wants very real connections, and I thrive on that. I can't do superficial. It's not my bag, and I'm thankful that I've been surrounded with amazing people who really know me and see me, but it's sometimes difficult whenever you meet people who just know the persona of you and they expect you to be certain things that you maybe aren't. So yeah, that's it. If you want to get my attention, let's like wax poetic about life and philosophy and all that kind of good stuff. Okay, that is it for now. Thanks for tuning in and getting to know me a little bit better. Like, subscribe, and do all the things. You know what to do. Like, it's right below here.